Hello guys, welcome to my channel. It's Comfort here, your registered nurse. So today I'm going to be making a video about the resources I use to study for my Nclex. So it's going to be a very quick and brief video. This video has been long overdue. My friends have been asking me questions. What resources did you use? How did you go about it? So I felt it would be best if I make a video instead of me explaining to them over and over again. So if you find this interesting, stay tuned and let's get straight into the video. Here are the three resources I used to study for my Nclex. I used UWord, Mackay, and Simple Nursing. These are the three main resources I use to study for my Nclex. So I'm going to break them down on how I use them and how they worked for me. So this is my own way of how I study. This is what works for me. Different method works for everyone, but this method works for me. This is what I stuck to, and I use this method, and I sat for the Nclex one sitting, and I passed my Nclex. So stay tuned and let me explain and break everything down for you. The first resources I got when I was ready, when I started preparing for the Nclex was UWord, because I went on research, I made all my research, checked YouTube videos, everyone was recommending UWord, UWord, UWord. So I was like, okay, let me give UWord a go. So I subscribed to UWord. So my first resources was UWord. And after subscribing to UWord, something really happened. When I started using UWord, the question bank, something really happened. I find it really, I struggle to finish questions. Like I will be on the questions for a long time before I'll go to the rationale. So it was really taking up my time. So I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do about this? So I came up with a strategy that will help me at a strategy that will help me learn faster, answer my questions faster, and then I don't have to take the whole time to take the question bank before I'll go to the rationale to understand. So I took this step that I'm going to break down for you now. Because this was taking so much of my time and I was feeling it like I really need to work harder to answer the questions before I go to the rationale. So what I did, I remember I loved Mackay, especially during my final year of nursing school. So I was like, okay, why not listen to Mac? Then, well, after listening to Mac, then I can answer my question. That way, I'll be able to understand and answer the questions even faster. So what I did, I love to run and I love to listen to music. So while I'm running, instead of listening to motivational speakers and listening to music, I switch to Nclex. So while I'm running, I'm listening to Mackay. While I'm cooking, I'm listening to Mackay. While I'm driving, I'm listening to Mackay. So most of Mac's lectures, the audios on YouTube, they were broken down to system by system. So if I'm going for a system today, I make sure as I'm going for the run, I will listen to that particular audio. So after listening to that audio, then when I come back home, I will apply it to my UWord. So when I'm answering the UWord questions, it's easier and it was faster for me. So that was number one strategy that worked for me. The second strategy I used was Simple Nursing. My God, God bless Mike. That guy is God sent. I use simple nursing video. So I use Mark K on motion, then I use simple nursing before I start my question bank. So immediately I study simple nursing, I'm answering my questions bank. My God, I tend to understand, and the way I answered the question, it was totally different before I came up with this strategy. So I stuck to this strategy, and this strategy worked 100% for me. It worked really well. I struggle to answer my questions. When I answer my question, I take longer time. But after I started listening to these two guys, my God, the speed and the way I answer my questions, it was faster than before I started using this strategy. So giving them a go and coming up with a strategy actually worked for me. This was what worked for me and it worked perfectly well for me. And I'll recommend this to anyone. When I'm watching simple nursing, I don't just watch. I have my notes. Like me, I love to write. That's one thing with me. I love to take down details. And with simple nursing, when he's in his video, there will be a point where he will say, write this down. Don't let the Nclex trick you. Don't let the Nclex trick you. Don't joke with those words. Those words are powerful and they were 100% helpful. They helped me a lot. It helped me a lot. So whenever you're listening to simple nursing and you come and you're listening to simple nursing or you're watching simple nursing and then he's like, write this down, please write it down. Because no matter how you think you're going to note it down in your brain, you might forget. And once you write it down and you go through, once I wrote them down and I went through my notes over and over, it stuck with me. So in my exam hall, there are sometimes I was answering the questions and I was like, I heard the word, don't let the Nclex trick you. Don't let the Nclex trick you. So remember from the beginning of the video, I said you have to come up with what works for me. This is what works for me. For me, U word was 100%. I will recommend U word to anyone 100%, 1001% for me. And I find it easier. And again, you don't need to confuse yourself with so many resources. And one thing you need to get at the back of your mind, first thing is, there are lots of people out there calling different resources. This is what worked for me. This thing worked for me. If you get that too much into your mind, you might get really confused and overwhelmed. So when I'm taking the question bank every day, it's like I'm sitting for the Nclex examination because on that day, the setting system wise is it totally looked the same. So the day I took my exam, the stress and the anxiety and fear was no longer there because I felt relaxed. I was calm and composed because I was not really tense anymore. I was no longer tense because it was like the way I've been taking the U words, sitting, like answering the questions. So I felt the same way. So I felt at ease. So the setting of the U word and the setting of the Nclex, like system wise, no difference. So that's one thing that really helped me. I love the rationale when I study U word, the detailed explanation. My God, U word is U word, man. Yeah, U word is U word. And one thing you need to have at the back of your mind again is when you're studying, when you're using the question bank keyword, I'm going to tell you. So when I'm on U word, when I'm about to answer my question, this is how I go about it. I do this. First, I choose 20 questions from this system. So in that 20 questions, when I'm answering the question, I don't get distracted on going very fast to look at the rationale. First, I finish answering the whole questions. Then once I'm done answering the questions and I submit, then I start going over the rationale. One thing behind this that you need to have at the back of your mind. Just imagine when you're taking tests in school or you're writing exam, where there is no room for you to like quickly answer one question, then you go to your note to check if that's the right thing or the wrong thing. This is what I was doing first when I started, when I got the U word, and this dragged me back a lot. It stresses me out a lot. So immediately I put in this strategy, it made me to understand more. I was able to get myself composed, and then I was able to build my momentum and get myself ready for the Nclex, because when you're taking the Nclex, of course, on that day, you're not going to answer one question and go back to the rationale or go back to your book or check anything. You are going to be sitting down to take the question without checking anything. So I started building my momentum and building my strength from there. So I sit down, I don't touch anything. I strictly answer the question. And once I'm done with the question, then I go to the rationale. So that was another thing that worked for me. And then I'm able to time myself how, and then I check how long it took me to answer the questions and how long I was able to pass. So that way I was able to compare how better I was at answering my questions and how fast I was answering my question. So That's another tip you need to have at the back of your mind. Once you get your U word, answer your questions first before you go to the rationale. It's really helpful. And once you go to the rationale, one thing I don't forget, I write them down. You know why? Writing it down is totally and very important. I write everything down because the key points and the things I need to understand. After writing them down, I don't need to go back again and start searching or searching which one. And on in the U word, there's a place to take note and do all of those things. But for me, I love to write because I can quickly go to my note, flip over, and check what I need to check. So for me, Mark K, simple nursing, U word, these guys were the chain pathway to me passing my Nclex in one sitting. So you don't have to confuse yourself. Just focus and you see the magic happen. Focus on what works for you, the resources that will help you. Don't go around watching tons of videos around and confusing yourself. With that, I've come to the end of today's video. Hope you had a good time and see you in the next one. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thank you and bye.